You're not stating facts, you're stating opinions.
Mr. Secretary, Black and brown Americans feel like they are under attack by this administration. President Trump has ordered state legislators across the country to redraw maps to dilute Black political representation. Moreover, Trump has weaponized the DOJ to go after groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center because of the work that they've done to expose white supremacy groups that are often supporters of President Trump.
So Terri Sewell just walked into a House Ways and Means Committee hearing and did something Scott Bessent had no defense against. She held him accountable to his own numbers, not the administration's talking points, not inflation-adjusted projections, the specific numerical forecasts he personally put on the record, in public, with his name attached. After the One Big Beautiful Bill passed in the summer of 2025, Bessent declared it would unleash growth in the American economy. Republicans promised it would generate $2.4 trillion in new government revenue, and the administration's growth forecast was 5.4% GDP growth for the fourth quarter of 2025. The actual number was half of 1%, not 5.4, not 2%, not even 1%, half of 1%. And the first ranking member, who is also the first Black woman ever to serve in that role on the Ways and Means Oversight Subcommittee, a securities lawyer from Selma, Alabama, read those numbers into the congressional record one by one. I will give you my honest opinion at the end. Let's watch this.
Mr. Secretary, you promised the American people that the big, beautiful bill would lead to big economic boom for the American people. In a statement you made on July 3rd, 2025, after the passage of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, you said that the legislation would unleash growth in the American economy. Republicans pledged that it would stimulate economic growth and lead to an additional $2.4 trillion in government revenue. However, the most recent GDP data shows that the economy barely grew in the last quarter of 2025 at a rate of only 0.5% and continues to fall below expectations in the first quarter of 2026. Time and time again, you told the American people not to believe their own eyes or what's in their bank accounts, while families have been hit with higher costs from Trump's illegal tariffs and his costly war on a war of choice in Iran. This administration continues to insist that the economy is thriving. The reality, sir, especially for the folks that I represent in Alabama, is that you forecast a 5.4% growth in GDP for the fourth quarter 2025 and only delivered a 0.5% growth. The reality is that wages have fallen behind rising inflation and that job growth dramatically slowed down since Trump took office. Mr. Secretary, I'm asking you rhetorically the following questions. I ask you, why was your analysis so wrong? And I'm asking you rhetorically, since you've shown yourself not to be able to answer questions on this side. So let me try to answer it. Could it be that Trump's illegal tariff or the cost of the war of choice in Iran were the reasons why your analysis was off? Whatever the reason, I want you to know that the people that I represent in Alabama are hurting under this economy. Prices in Alabama have fallen by 3.6% over last year. Energy prices are up 18%, and exports of Alabama products and services have dropped by $3 billion since President Trump took office. In addition, the Iran war has cost American households over $100 billion. Grocery prices are rising faster than any time in the last 4 years, and gas is over $4 a gallon in Alabama, where last year it was only $3 a gallon. Mr. Secretary, your economy, this economy under this administration is failing the American people, and we can and must do better. My second question, or my second topic I'd like to discuss is what's going on. Sir, I haven't asked you one single question.
I will point out
Mr. Chairman, I asked to reclaim my time. I'm not asking him a question. I'm stating facts.
You're not stating facts, you're stating opinions.
Mr. Secretary, Black and brown Americans feel like they are under attack by this administration. President Trump has ordered state legislators across the country to redraw maps to dilute Black political representation. Moreover, Trump has weaponized the DOJ to go after groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center because of the work that they've done to expose white supremacy groups that are often supporters of President Trump. I am asking you, sir, that if the IRS plays a role in these cases, I ask that you ensure that the IRS is not improperly influenced by the president or this administration during the duration of that case, and I trust that you will make sure that that does happen. Lastly, Representative Davis and I sent several letters to the IRS, and I think that Representative Davis, during his questioning of you, asked you about it. This most recent tax season was the first time that the president signed an executive order in September of last year that ceased paper refund checks from being issued. This decision to upend paper checks has led to a significant delay in refunds for those taxpayers. And I understand in your response to Mr. Davis, you said that 95% of those that receive their refunds get them electronically. Well, I represent the 5% that do not have access to electronic repayment. Those folks need paper checks and they need their refunds now. I trust that this administration will do all that it can to make sure that all Americans, irrespective of whether they're unbanked or have access to electronic payment, that they get their refunds. And Mr. Davis asked a question that you didn't answer, but I'd like to answer it for you. We're asking that you and your office, that the Treasury Department, work with us to make sure that our constituents get their refund checks.
I will commit to do that.
Thank you, sir. I yield back the balance of my time.
That was the first I've seen. And to be clear, that number 5.4% was the Atlanta Fed GDP need now, but I know that's inconvenient. So,
thank you, and thank you, Secretary, for joining us here today. It's always kind of unusual when you start a hearing and are instructed what you can say or can't say in an open and free democracy. But having said that, you mentioned in your testimony core inflation a couple of times. What's the difference between core inflation and inflation?
Many people believe, or it is in general, energy prices and food prices, which are much more fast-moving. And I would say that energy prices will roll down when this Iran conflict ends.
So is gasoline considered part of core inflation?
Yes, sir.
It is. So those remarks, core inflation reflects gasoline prices.
Core inflation, it reflects the underlying trend in inflation and whether that inflation has become endemic to the system as it did during President Biden.
Has the war in Iran had anything to do with core inflation?
Sir?
Does the war in Iran have anything to do with core inflation? Or you can't answer that, or either? Or are we precluded from asking that?
Well, I'm not sure what the question is.
Let me make it as simple as I can. Does the war in Iran, are you with me? Has the war in Iran
thus far
have witnessed the rise in gas prices as it caused?
Well, again, that is the regular inflation, and gas prices have gone up, which I believe will be temporary.
Gas prices have gone up, but you believe they're temporary.
Core inflation, it has dropped 0.5% since President Trump came to office.
Geez, you know, when I'm home in my district, I'm going to just tell those people, geez, you know what? You missed this whole thing. Don't you understand core inflation? You guys are better off. I mean, these gas prices, I don't know what you people are thinking out there. For God's sake, you know, you should be doing cartwheels in the street over the price of gas.
All right, so if you just watched that and felt like you were watching someone get held accountable to their own scorecard in real time, let me break down what Sewell actually exposed, because this is bigger than one bad quarter. Start with the promise versus the reality, because that gap is enormous even by the standards of political overpromising. The One Big Beautiful Bill was passed in the summer of 2025. It extended the Trump-era tax cuts, cut Medicaid by hundreds of billions, slashed food assistance programs, and increased the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected it would add $2.4 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. Bessent's counter was that tariff revenue over the same period would be $2.8 trillion. That math does not hold up under scrutiny, because tariff revenue projections depend heavily on assumptions about trade volume that economists across the spectrum called wildly optimistic. And the CBO's estimate of what the bill would cost taxpayers making under $50,000 a year was roughly $300 in tax cuts in 2027. Meanwhile, taxpayers making over $1 million a year would get roughly $90,000 in cuts. That is not a trickle-down economic argument. That is a redistribution argument in reverse. And then the growth forecast. Bessent projected 5.4% GDP growth for the fourth quarter of 2025. He was citing the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now tracker, as he tried to note when Sewell finished, which is a real-time forecasting model that can swing wildly and is explicitly not meant to be used as an official forecast. The actual quarter 4 GDP came in at 0.5%. To put that in perspective, 5.4% growth would have been one of the strongest economic quarters in decades, comparable to periods immediately following major recessions when the economy was bouncing back from historic lows. 0.5% is barely growth at all. It represents an economy essentially stagnant, and the first quarter of 2026 continued below expectations, with the Iran war impact on oil prices hitting consumer spending across every category. Sewell then puts concrete numbers on what that means for the people she represents in Alabama's 7th Congressional District, which includes Selma and much of the state's rural Black Belt. Energy prices in Alabama are up 18%. The Iran war has cost American households over $100 billion in combined higher fuel and goods costs. Alabama exports have dropped by $3 billion since Trump took office. Grocery prices are rising faster than at any point in the last 4 years. And gas that was $3 a gallon in Alabama last year is now over $4. These are not national averages or policy abstractions. These are the specific numbers for a specific district represented by the person doing the questioning. And Bessent's response when Sewell points all of this out is to try to interrupt her and suggest she is stating opinion. She shuts it down immediately. She is not asking him questions. She is stating facts. I really appreciate you watching. Make sure to check out this one. If you want more breakdowns like this, hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment and tell me what you think.